Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jen and this is Jen Restyle and Fashion, and today I am back with an upcycling video. I know it's been a minute. This week we're going to take about 6 pairs of thrifted jeans and turn them into a denim dress using Vogue pattern 1943. I'll be lengthening the jacket and changing the sleeves to give them more of a dramatic balloon style. I'll also be adding some gorgeous denim rosettes along the side for an extra wow factor. I'm planning to wear this dress to the Fleurotica fashion show at the Garfield Park Conservatory here in Chicago. Every design in the show is made from fresh flowers and plants, so I wanted my outfit to reflect this theme while staying true to my love for upcycled fashion. All right, stick around. I'm going to take you step by step through this one-of-a-kind denim dress that is sustainable, chic. Let's get started. Y'all, so we're pivoting. I am washing the denim. I'm actually re-washing the denim. I always, whenever I get denim in, even if somebody gifts it to me or if I get it from the thrift store, I always wash and deodorize and sanitize. I have pivoted and now I am looking at this as the pattern. So I'm not making the pants, I'm only making the jacket. And I'm making the jacket long into a dress. And when I say long, I mean I'm making it into a regular dress length, not like long to the floor. And I think that this is going to be so nice in the denim. I am going to do my facings and linings with this gray polissoir. It is a bridal satin. You guys have seen me use this so much in the past. I'm so glad I bought this bolt of fabric during the pandemic. It has been a great purchase and I just keep pinching off of it whenever I can. So it's like a steel gray and it just works so well with the denim because it's also weighty and I think it's going to work well. So I also have some interfacing because the facing needs to be interfaced, but pants, no. Top, yes. We're going to make it longer. I think I'm going to do something different with the sleeves because I think I want a fuller sleeve. So I'm basically just using the body of the jacket and then we'll work on the sleeve. All right, here we go. So I've got all the denim cut up, but I'm going to start with my pieces that need to be interfaced. Now the interfacing is super important for this outfit because this denim is super heavy, and even though it's heavy and some of the denim is stiff, it still needs interfacing to give it support and structure. So I am using a regular polyester fusible interfacing, and I'm taking all the pieces that need to be interfaced, which is mostly the facings, all the facings and the bodice. So I interfaced the entire bodice including the facings, and I know that probably seems like a lot of extra thickness, but I felt like it was going to be needed, especially if I'm going to add the rosettes. I need as much support in there as possible. After I cut out all the pieces that needed interfacing, I went to the pieces that were going to be lined. And I used like I mentioned earlier, a bridal satin, which was nice and thick because nothing thin could be part of this dress. So I cut out all of my pieces that needed to be lined next. You'll notice here that I lengthened everything. So this is the bottom part of the jacket, the pattern piece that you see there, and I just lengthened everything. All right, so now we're going to start on the denim portion of the dress, and I still had a few pieces that needed to be cut and separated. I ended up cutting up all my pieces, laying everything out flat. I recommend, if you're going to do something like this, use the outside of the jeans and leave the outside seam intact, but seam rip the inside. And that's because the inside of the jeans have a little bit of a curve. The outside of the jeans are typically straight. So you have a better chance of being able to use that one large piece instead of having to piece pieces together. And you'll see as we move forward. All right, here's a good example of this. Now I am cutting the sleeve. I used 2 pants legs and I laid the sleeve out on those 2 pants legs right sides together. I gave myself a little extra length at the bottom because I wanted to add elastic at the bottom of the sleeve. And then at the bottom, you see it's a little wider. And so I made this in kind of a bell shape without the dome because this sleeve wasn't off the shoulder. So as you can see, I gave myself, I would say like 4 or 5 inches extra on the sides to create this more balloon sleeve. After we're done with the sleeve, we're going to lay out for the bottom part of the jacket, which we're going to extend so that it can be the full length of the dress. And we're going to come back the next day and get working on this. All right, you guys, it's the next day and we're going to keep working on this. I'm trying to stay off camera because I am still in the PJs, but I wanted you to see, and I'll zoom in a little bit. The camera down a bit, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start the top of the skirt near the hem of the jeans, and then at the bottom of the skirt it's gonna be a little frayed unevenness. I like that. I think that's more organic. So we're going to cut the front piece off of this one and the back piece, or I won't say the back, the other front out of this piece. And we're going to do both of these the same way. So I'm going to put this piece down. I'm going to lay this piece on top, matching up the hems. And I think what's going to end up happening is the skirt, you know, it's just gonna have an uneven hem, which is fine. Okay, so that's my front. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut this out, move this to the side. Then we've got the back. Let me locate it and I'll be right back. All right, the interesting part about the back, which, you know, this is what happens when you upcycle. You can't have everything perfect. So the back piece is cut on the fold. If you notice, I did not cut this on the fold for the lining. So the same is gonna stand true for cutting it out of the fabric. I'm just gonna have to leave extra for the seam allowance. And this dog is coughing. So that's the back, bottom.
I cannot do that for the stream.
Alexa just be talking for no reason. All right, so what I'm gonna do, just like I did here, I extended past the fold line. I'll cut it and I will stitch the back seam first before I sew anything together. So we're gonna cut these two out. So that's the back and the front. And then the only other piece that I have left is the, did the sleeve last night, upper back. So this is the upper back of the jacket. So I need to cut this out. And then I also need the front facings. I need to cut those out too. That's gonna be pretty easy because those can easily be pieced together without a problem. So I can use these extra pieces. I took the lining piece that I had cut the day before and laid it on top of the denim to make sure that the denim extended past the lining. So of course I'm going to hem the lining, but I did want to make sure that it matched up, and it did. And now we're going to use one of the other pants legs. You know, I had to cut around the distressing. That's another thing. A lot of jeans that I thrift have a lot of distressing, so I have to work around the distressing. But as you can see here, I took one of the pattern pieces and tried to fit it inside of one of the pants legs, and I think I ended up making it work, and I cut it out. But I used every little piece of denim that I could to get these pieces done. Even in areas where it was going to be cut on the fold, I tried to use the seams. So now I have everything cut out. All the pieces are done. And I went to my ironing board and ironed all of the interfacing onto the denim. As I told you before, I interfaced the entire bodice. I did not interface the lower portion. I just felt like that would just be too much. And so I paired up my denim interface pieces with my lined pieces. And now we're going to work on the bodice. Interfacing has been attached to the fabric, and I actually made the marks. I used my chalk pencil. You can find it in my Amazon storefront. You can also find it in my LTK store. I love it because the chalk just rolls right off. I am creating the darts in the bodice right now, and for those of you who are seasoned seamstresses, you're probably not cringing as much, but those of you who are newer or just learning, you notice I did not pin anything. I rarely pin. Sometimes I use clips, sometimes I just don't use anything. We're gonna do the seams open. We're gonna lay the seams open, and we're gonna attach the boning on the inside and leave myself a little space up here at the top. So let's go grab the boning. Okay, you guys, I got a phone call, so we are, I have to keep it moving because time is of the essence right now. So we'll go back to the boning in just a moment. But I am sewing the lining pieces right now. I'm so grateful that all my notches and everything are lining up well. I am sewing at a longer sewing length, stitch length, just in case. Okay. Now I need to go and press this. I'm giving myself a little more room in lining so that it's comfortable. But I love this. I bought this fabric during the pandemic, and I bought a whole bolt of it because I got it at a really good price. I couldn't even afford to buy this fabric anymore. Like, I went and looked at fabric prices, and y'all sound off in the comments. Fabric is just ridiculous. Like, it does not really even, for me, for some things, I just go to the store and buy it. I mean, the pleasure of making it myself, you know, is definitely, and being proud of what I made is important, but sometimes I'll just go to the store and buy it. I'll be right back. As I am sewing the bodice and pressing the bodice, and I'll just show you here when I'm pressing the bodice, I do use my pressing ham, to make sure that I have a nice shape. You see how the bodice now is shaped perfectly for the breast area so that it's nice and smooth. Anyway, long story, as I'm doing this, I'm looking at it, I'm like, gosh, this looks big. Yeah, I cut it too large. So you'll see later. Okay, so now we have the boning again. The boning is going to go on the fabric, not on the lining. And I've already inserted 2 pieces of boning here on the back seam. So what we're going to do next is sew the side seams. I'm really just giving you kind of the highlights and the kind of the points where I change things in this dress that you would need if you decide to make it. And I'll just mention here, you see that was a metal boning piece. I did not use the metal boning in this dress. I should have, but I didn't. And the reason I didn't is because I was rushing, and the metal boning requires you to adjust it, and I just didn't have time for that. But in a dress like this, with this much weight, it definitely needs the metal boning, and we'll talk about boning next year. All right, so I did put boning in the entire bodice, and I'm so glad I did that because it really, really needed the support. All right, now we're just sewing up the lining pieces, and after we sew the lining pieces, I believe I'm gonna begin sewing the bottom portion of the dress out of the denim, and then we're gonna press it. Like I said, I'm not going through step by step. I'm only hitting the points where I changed certain aspects of it in case you decide that you want to make this dress and make the same types of changes. Whenever you're looking at patterns, always think about how they can be adjusted, how maybe you can put, you know, something with something else. I'm always looking at patterns that way. Just because I feel like, just like clothes, I want to get as much use out of them as possible. And I think I was able to do that with this one because I still really like the jacket, and I'd like to be able to go back and make that jacket someday. All right. One of the good things that happened as I was sewing this dress together is that the darts in the back of the dress ended up falling right in the seam of the pants leg, and so that was nice. And I did go in after I sewed the darts. I went in and I slashed and pressed them open so that they would lay nice and flat and we wouldn't have any bulk in the darts. 10. This is pin lower front and back to lower edge of upper front and back, matching centers and seams. All right, so this is the skirt piece on top, and this is the top portion with the interfacing. That's why you see the black. I think I showed this in the video. So I'm gonna start with matching up my seams. I'm happy to say that it's matching up well. You'll notice that when I do my interfacing, I don't go all the way to the edge. It's just so much bulk. I'm trying to reduce the bulk. You know, this pattern wasn't necessarily meant to be made out of upcycled denim jeans, and that's not necessarily taken into account because that's not what this pattern was for. So I have to just be mindful of that, and just want to make sure that I put boning everywhere it needs to be. Now this absolutely has to be made with boning because the way this jacket is made, it doesn't have anything on the shoulders. And so in order for it to hold up well, it's got to have boning. So you really can't get around that. You might think, oh, if I do it out of denim, denim's so stiff, it'll hang up, it'll hold up on its own. Nope, it will not. It will sag and drag, and you will be irritated because it won't be sitting up, and somebody will ask you, oh, did you make that? Right. That's what we don't. We don't want that. We want people to be like, oh my God, where'd you get that from? That's what you want. All right. So I forgot to go in and press that open. So I have to go back and do that. But I'm happy to say that it's all matching up. I am pinning this because I want to make sure that everything is even. I know I haven't really pinned anything since we started. All right. So once I sew this, I need to go and press this up. So we're going to press the seams toward the bodice. Another reason why it's important to take out as much bulk as possible, because we're not pressing it open, which I would prefer to press it open, but it's saying press it up. It's fine. We'll just press it up. Okay. And you know, when you're making something that has a lining, you're essentially making two dresses or two pants or two whatever it is that requires a lining. All right, this is matching up perfectly. I'm gonna do a try on. It is getting close to 8 o'clock in the morning, y'all. I got up so early this morning so that I could sew. And we are 2.5, almost 3 hours in. I think I want to get it done. All right, so now this is number 10. So we're going to do that first. And this is for those of you that are following along with the pattern and me. So I'm giving you the steps that we're on so that you can, if you want to follow along, you can. Again, my way is a little untraditional because I don't use a lot of pins, only if I have to. And this was a have to. All right. And I am making this sort of long. I'm hoping, I got to figure out what shoes to wear, but whatever shoes I wear, they are going to have to be really tall because I don't want to have to cut the dress. Now, my feed dogs are doing something weird again because see how I have this extra fabric up here? Let's make sure you guys can see. Zoom in a little bit. So I'm going to stop at the halfway point and go in the other direction. I got to get these feed dogs adjusted because that can make a huge difference. See, I have this little piece right here. So I'm just going to back stitch there. And then we're going to flip this over. And we're going to sew from the opposite end to help it even out. Okay. I am thinking about maybe doing a top stitch since this is going to be, the seams are going to be going towards the bodice. See how thick that is in there? I might actually go in and, I can't cut it. Well, I could cut the serge edge off. I'm just gonna get that out of there. It's just too much. It's just too thick. And I'm cutting the tip of the dart off just to take a little bit of the fabric out. That's all. It's just to take some of the fabric out. Okay. Where did we end? Where did we stop? Yep, there we go. And the other thing, when you cut your boning, you want to make sure that you cut it above the seam allowance, because you do not want to sew over that boning. I promise you. You do not want to do that. I sewed over my steel metal boning the other day. I hope I didn't ruin my machine, but obviously broke the needle. Had to use pliers to get the needle out of the boning. Crazy. And I know better. I should have put a piece of boning back here, but c'est la vie. That should be okay. All right. And now we're even. So I had no buckling at all. Now, I think it makes sense to go in and do a top stitch here. I've pushed all of the seams towards the top, and I'm gonna do this because I really want this to lay down nice and flat. I hope I don't catch the boning because I'm going just a little bit above. But this is all so thick in here, and I don't want to have that thickness. I'm going to press it, and I'm going to use all kinds of tools, pressing tools, to get it nice and flat. But okay, there we go. I like it. I'm doing it in this gold thread just because I like that. I think it just looks more authentically denim. And then once we're done with this, we're going to do this same step. We're going to go to step 19 and do the same thing with the lining. I'm not going to use up time on the video doing that because that'll just make it too long. We're doing the exact same thing we did with this front. We're doing it with the lining. So I think I'm glad that I'm going over and sewing this down, because I think when it's time to press, it's just going to make it that much more flat. Okay. All right. I'm going to skip over to the lining, and we'll be back to move on to step. We'll go on to, I think step 21. I think 21 will be next. Okay, in this frame, we are attaching the lining to the dress. As you can see, I'm just pinning, matching up where all of my notches are all the way around. And the lining felt so good on the inside of this dress. This bridal satin was perfect. It was a perfect color. It was a perfect weight. I couldn't have asked for better. Okay, what you'll see in the next couple frames is the mistake I made, and I actually cut the bodice too large. All right, you guys. So because my time is short and I need to get to work, I'm not that far from work, and I've already showered. My clothes are laid out. What I'm going to end up doing is seam ripping the front bodice. Let's see. I can show it on here. Luckily, the back is okay. And apparently, I'm not a 12 in patterns. Apparently, I'm still a 10. I thought I was a little bigger. So we're going to make that adjustment going forward, especially as I'm going to be making these corsets and things for you guys. All right. So This is where it is completely too big on me. Just like it's fitting on the mannequin, that's how it's looking. So I am gonna go in and I'm not gonna worry about the lining. It might be a little bulky up underneath, but I'll just do some extra darts in the lining. I'm not as concerned about that, and I don't have time. So I'm only gonna take off this top stitching here. I'm gonna take out the boning from the side, and I'm gonna use this same piece and recut it, both pieces, and recut it using a B cup. Now, I'm not a B cup, but I'm a triple D, so that's why I cut it in a D, so that I wouldn't have this, feeling of feeling constrained. So, and I do love the way this turned out. I mean, I love the remnant of the side of the pants seam right here. Then the dart is next to that. I just feel like it came together so well. So I just want to show you all this before we come back tonight, because tonight is using the B cup pattern piece, getting ourselves a better look, reattaching the boning at the side seams, and then attaching the sleeve. And then I did want to put rosettes around the dress, so we got it all loose. So I'm just gonna press this, and you guys can watch me put the piece, the B cup on here, and we're gonna do the same thing on the other side. Things happen. Yep, it happens. So this is me just going back, pressing these two pieces nice and flat, and then I take the pattern piece for the B cup, lay it on top, cut it out, put my darts back in, re-sew it, reattach it, and the dress is perfectly fine. So my suggestion again is just to, really get those measurements down. If you are a D cup, you probably don't need to cut this in a D unless your back is wider and you think you're going to need those adjustments, but I didn't. I am on a serious crunch time right now. Like, we are less than 24 hours from the show, believe it or not, and I am still sewing. I am still putting pieces together. Now, I ended up coming home from work the day before the show, and I sewed until, I would say, about 2 a.m. Yeah, about 2 a.m., you guys. All right, so here I'm putting on the sleeve, matching it up under the arms. And I really love the way these sleeves came out, but everything matched up just fine. Once I changed the bodice out and reinserted it, I had absolutely no problems when I went to try this on again. All right, we are getting to almost our last step. Right now, I am attaching the facing, matching up my seams, matching up my corners, matching up my notches. I pinned the facing all the way around. I'm going to stitch it down, and then you'll see me go to the serger, and then I'm going to serge the outside of the facing so that it has a nice clean finish. Everything matched up wonderfully. I'm so really pleased with how this turned out. I definitely want to make this again in the shorter form. I don't think I popped up a picture, but I did upcycle a men's jacket that was very similar to the shape of this jacket. And I'll see if I can find it and insert it. If not, we'll talk about it another time. But we're wrapping up. All right, the serging is the last step before I press, and then I sew on all the denim rosettes. I basically sewed denim rosettes until I almost was walking out of the door headed to the fashion show, but I absolutely love the way this turned out. Let me know in the comments what you think, and I'm going to show you a few little excerpts from the show and then the finished product. Enjoy! See you next time.